Okay, there we go. And while we're waiting for our guests to join on, we have minutes from our last meeting 2 weeks ago, which was February 21st. And I sent them out, and Stephen sent me, I think, just one correction.
On mine,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I I made that correction. So is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes from that meeting as corrected.
February 21st. Okay.
I'll
Uh,
second.
okay. Alrighty. So Jeff seconded it. And so does anybody have any other comments to make about those minutes? No. All in favor of approving those minutes, please
Aye.
by saying aye. I'll say aye.
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 Okay, all right, so those minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, and here's Dominic, and there's Heather. Dominic, I'll make you a co-host. Andrea said she might be late. Okay, so we just approved our minutes, Dominic, and so really this show is all about you, I think. So so
That's great. Thanks a lot, Marianne. Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen. Hang on a second here. I have some renderings to show you as well. Hot off the press, just came in, so I'm just getting them up as well. I will get to those in a second. So hang on a sec. All right, can everybody see that? Great. So without any further ado, let me get straight into it. So I wanted to just touch on a few things. There's been a lot of work going on in the background, of course, with our consultants, which is excellent. So a lot of progress, a lot of coordination happening. I don't have a lot for you today, but I will present on the restroom. I want to just touch on the site plan and some millwork updates. I have here on the top of my agenda restroom finishes. I just wanted to quickly discuss with you our strategy for the 75% pricing set, because I think we should use it as a way to inform us how we're going to handle the 100%. As to the finishes in the restrooms, what should be an add alt. I know that we were talking about retroplate at one point. My understanding is that we're not going to do that anymore, that we would do resilient flooring in the main lobby circulation space. The question still is outstanding specific to the restrooms. We can go a few different ways there, where we just seal the structural slab, so you have exposed concrete. We don't recommend that, really. That the slab has a tendency to crack, and over time you would have a restroom with open cracks. They're not large, but it just looks a bit unsightly in the restroom specifically. We could finish the floor in two ways. One, tile. Previously we had a large format porcelain tile, and I wondered, just to be budget conscious, that we specify a smaller format, a cheaper tile, and then we can use that tile for the floor and the wet wall. So that floor tile then comes up to finish the wet wall, so where the sink will be and where the restroom, the toilets are mounted. The alternative to that is that we use an epoxy finish for the flooring, and that we don't finish the wall with tile specifically, but we could specify a high resistance waterproof paint that is, which you could do as well. That's going to be resilient to, cleaning, maintenance, things like that. Over time, you'll just need to repaint. So it's small consideration. Potentially, we could, for the 75%, break out these two adults. So one is epoxy floor with just a high spec wall paint on that wet wall, or we use tile for the floor and the wet wall. Alternatively, we could just tile the floor and still use, the high resistant paint as well. So I just wanted to bring all this up. My thoughts for tile would be Dell tile. It's a very common product. It's hard wearing. It's very cost
How do you
effective.
spell it?
Dell tile, DAL tile. I actually have some here. Hang on.
Marianne, you can come see it in my bathroom.
Okay.
It'll be a little bit difficult to see from, they've got nice color options. You can do a mosaic. We've specified this in our office for many years, and it has always been the most cost-effective tile that we get on the job. So as far as, specific to public bid, 3 or equals, the Dell tile will always be the first choice for any tile sub. So we stand behind it, and I just wonder, for the cost estimate, do we just have a look at the 75% and have adults? We can make our decision then. So related, I think this kind of ties into whether we need another committee meeting prior to, whether we need one next week prior to the 75%. I think I had asked, for a vote on what the final finish is, but maybe we just wait for the 75%. So a few hands have been raised. I think in order, Dale, you might be first.
So I would think that, Dal tile is sort of a middle ground, and in terms of estimation, that I think that the tile approach would be a good middle ground, because you can go up on the tile. Whereas if because I agree, I don't think we really want a bare concrete floor, nor really do I think we really want a high grade painted wall, if we can possibly do better.
Nice, thank you. Penny?
What size tile are you specifying? I'm just thinking of grout and how dirty grout gets, especially in
Yeah.
bathrooms.
Yeah, absolutely. So they have 2x4. My initial sense was to go with 1x1. So a true mosaic size. But to your point about grout, you're right. The more grout you have in the floor, I don't know. I think it all comes down to cleaning. Keep it clean.
Well, we have maintenance issues in town, so I'm thinking of what will look the most presentable over time with minimal maintenance.
Yeah, understood.
Tile doesn't make a larger, like a 4x4 or.
Not that I know from our samples. I'll definitely look into it. My sense is they're the smaller format, and then as you get into the larger, you start bridging that middle ground
Yeah, okay.
cost.
Well, I'd go for as large as you can get away with.
Yeah. Okay. So let me look at that. And if we use 2x4, and I'll ask around the office too about like long-term. From my knowledge, we haven't seen any issues with that, but I think it's a valid question, Penny. So let me see. So if there are no other comments, if you're happy with that strategy, at least leading into how we handle the finishes and adults, or at least, how we price those out for the 75%, I can hold on to those two options to give us a sense of, where we stand.
I think that sounds good. Oh, sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. On the wet wall, are you taking the tile all the way up to the ceiling, or are you just taking it above the mirror?
Yeah, I think we just take it I don't think we need to go all the way up to the ceiling, and we just save on scope. But yeah, to the underside of the mirror, and that way you can kind of have a backsplash condition at the sink.
Yeah.
And I think that's the appropriate way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with the tile approach.
Okay.
I think Dale is correct.
Yeah.
Me too. I agree.
And just to be clear, have you
Hmm.
completely dismissed tile in the entry and circulation area? Because I would still like to see that as an add alt. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's something we would be happier with for the long haul. And I have a hard time saving money when for the sake of saving money.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's more, and I know my voice here is unpopular, but I would like, I prefer not to totally exclude that at this point.
I think there's room in the 75% to still leave that door open. And again, we just reevaluate the numbers. I don't know about in the high traffic area where the smaller format is really what we would want to do. So let me do a bit of discussion in our office and see what was best. And we'll definitely hold something for that, the common space that was previously set as tile, and see what we can use for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice. So that was just a talking point. So I just wanted to touch on that. I'd like to update you on the restroom. So the last time we spoke, I had an outstanding question with our plumbing engineer as to what we might need for water service square footage to be able to handle a lower flow rate at the well. So originally the plumbing engineer had asked for 25 gallons per hour, and we've dropped that to 0.75 gallons.
Per hour?
No, that's not right. I forget that number now. It's not on the top of my head. I
Per
remember
minute.
we had
It's
reduced that
0.75 per minute.
per minute. That's what
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. So, but 25 gallons per minute now that I say it is just sounds outrageous. How we ever held on to that, I'm not sure. So apologies. So the plumbing engineer got back to us, and they are going to have some preliminary containment to be able to store some water in this water service room. That's all to say that at that 0.75 gallons per minute, we do not need additional square footages in the water service room, which is great as far as how we lay out this additional restroom. The only outlier right now, first of all, can we get that 0.75 per minute, gallons per minute, when we do drill for the well? We're still waiting on that, but we're going to hold that spec right now. The other thing that's unknown is water treatment. And do we need PFAS treatment? And we would then need to also incorporate some additional square footage in the water service room. That's minimal. It's about 8 square feet that I would have to increase this floor plan. So I think with that additional wall area, it's about 3 feet I'd need to bump out somewhere. Depending on which scheme we go, I think it would be a sacrifice to the storage room. And I think we wait for testing to really lock in how the water service room needs to grow or how the storage room might need to shrink. So with that in mind, these layouts incorporate a roof footprint of 4,999 square feet. So depending on how things go, there's a little bit of fluff I think, in that number as to where I end up delineating the edge of the upturned roof, or, you know, how many inches is the overhang now on the north and south sides of the gabled roof. We've been in discussions with Garland about all of this. So I'll update you on, you know, our strategy for gutters. We're keen to get away from a total gutter strategy. We'd like to reduce the gutters to just where we need them, just to considering maintenance. But before we get into that, I just wanted to go over again 3 layouts that we've been contemplating. There's this strategy here has the restroom with the fixtures nested to the western wall, which was not favored because of the use of this restroom related to the meeting room and potential views into the space. So there's privacy considerations here. But this could be flipped. So, you know, similar to the version above here, but it puts the water service room inboard and gives you a nice storage room as shown here. The staff workroom is kept as previously designed. This blue line again was the existing footprint. And so you can see the staff workroom, the layout is the same and it has grown a little bit in area. So I'll go through all 3 and then we can kind of come back to them. Again, this second version is tweaked a little bit. So the fixtures are mounted to the northern wall with a wet wall division between water service and the restroom that allows your mop sink to be hosted here. So it's basically taking this version, but flipping that restroom. Slight dimensional changes here. What we are doing as well is trying to squeeze in direct access into the water service room. So this layout has basically pushed the staff workroom wall and door further west. So you can see here, this is a 5-foot ADA radius that we need in this room as a minimum. So we are basically taking this wall and shifting it into the staff workroom. And that allows us to squeeze a 30-inch wide door into the water service room. I like this as far as direct access to the mop sink. What I'm still trying to get information back from our plumber is, can we have a 30-inch wide door? My sense is we may not. So we're investigating how could this scheme work potentially if we do need a full width door. What we've done here as well is the pocket door is centered to the storage room so that you can have shelving on both sides to maximize your storage potential here. But that now is constraining what you can do for a cabinet. So this is a 2-foot deep cabinet, storage cabinet, which you would only have about 12 to 18 inches here. So it kind of constrains what we're doing here. So if we had to go this route, we'd still consider how the staff workroom lays out. So that led us to option 3. If the water storage room was to go adjacent to this new restroom, do we divide the storage room into a janitor's closet / additional storage, like overflow storage, and then the storage room has direct office into the staff workroom? So this again has a 30-inch wide door that's going in to the janitor closet. It reduces the storage room itself, but I think you could use the janitor closet for additional storage depending. The alternative to this option here is that we notch the entry door into the staff workroom so that this door and the glazed wall condition actually turns in. So this door effectively pushes in and allows us to increase this water service room door. So, this could return to a 36-inch door width. This door could push in, and, we can consider how the staff workroom lays out. So that's kind of where we stand at the moment. Heather, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you for all of your work on thinking and rethinking and rethinking this. It's a lot of moving parts. I understand. I think the middle option is the best one if you can get it to work. Personally, I do want to say I have concerns about the top option and the amount of storage that gets lost there functionally. I understand maybe some shelves could go in janitor's closets, but from having worked in libraries, that's not going to be a functional solution in all likelihood in terms of being able to really use that space. So I just wanted to raise that. I would say if we can try and stay away from any options that would reduce the storage closet to that extent, that would probably be a benefit to library staff in the long run.
Yeah. Great. That makes sense. As you say that, Heather, I just wanted to show you this. Somehow it wasn't representing in my presentation what I'd hoped to show you for that option 2 that you favored. This incorporates the pushing of this entry door into the staff workroom. So if we could make this work here,
That looks much better.
It looks like all you're losing there is potentially just space that would have been walkway space you're not necessarily losing functional staff workroom space.
Yeah, that's right. It again depends on, we are not going to own the scope of this storage cabinet closet. So it's going to be a standalone FF&E component, or, something that the library procures. And what is available at this depth, has to be considered. And we'd like to kind of consider that and at least incorporate the thinking there into how that might resolve. But this also, I think the other component here is we need 40 inches from this wall clear for ADA, right? So that meant that this glazed portion of this wall, this one here, needs to push into what we already had as shelving, right? So this was 9 feet of shelving, and I think that would be reduced here if we incorporate that. So a small reduction, I think, for you, Marianne, that, this is double-sided. So to the circulation space, you have holds, and I think it's staff circulation storage. Your holds is actually here. But then as well in your staff workroom, you then have dedicated shelving. This is counter height, so it's going to be, about 30 inches of shelving, metal shelving in here. So this one has the best potential, I think. I tried to lay out this storage room and really get as much metal shelving nested onto the walls, and then consider this space as that's where you're going to have a lot of the library controls. So and the central lighting control, mechanical controls, the fire alarm, and there's another thing here as well. I think your telecom, this is going to be kind of your server section of the building. So that's where we stand currently. If I do need to incorporate some additional wall, linear foot of wall in the water service room, I'll manipulate that somehow in this storage. If we need to incorporate PFAS water treatment. But at a high level, trying to get the best estimates of what we are aiming for from the water well, to be able to incorporate this new restroom requirement within the roof footprint of under 5,000, that it looks to have good potential. So so that's kind of where we are at the moment. Just wanted to give you an update of that. Few loose ends, obviously. The critical moment will be when we dig for the well and get the testing back. So a quick sense from the group as to, you know, does option 2, version 2 of option 2 seem to be the best strategy? Depending on whether we can get away with, you know, if we can get away with a 30-inch door width, that would be great. I think it's just cleaner. But yeah, Dale.
So, I mean, I think practically speaking, based on my experience, the 30-inch door would work unless there's some equipment that's going in that room that wouldn't fit in or out of there. But in terms of basic, operations, in terms of getting to the mop sink and doing all of those functions, I think that's good. And I think the 30-inch door would work because no matter what, the right-hand option is going to cost more money. As soon as you put those 2 corners in there, that's going to cost more money. So, I think if there's some reason that we can't work with a 30-inch door, well, that's, we have to factor that in. But if we can, cost, so, in terms of the 75%, I guess I would suggest that you go with the V1 option.
Yeah, understood. Thanks. Marianne?
What is the dimension of that little cabinet space?
The width?
Yeah, of that one.
I think this is at least 8 feet.
Okay. So it's 8 feet for the whole width. So is the little rectangle that you drew 4 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and then can you show the one that's in the plan? Can you put that up on the screen one more time?
Yeah.
Down lower.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think as well, which I'm not representing in this version 2 or 3, is if this wall and all of this assembly moves in, you actually open up some space here.
Right.
And the question is, do we pull the circ desk in a little bit? There's quite a pinch point here.
Right.
But it does open this up a little bit for you as well. And, maybe this printer station can extend a little more as well. So, it would require a little bit of fine tuning once we kind of get there. Right now, we're at a somewhat of a placeholder. And I think if we use this as a placeholder for now until March 15, I forget exactly when we're testing. It might actually be, it's after our 75%, but we'll have some time before we go to the 100 that it'll tweak these things. As far as structure's concerned, and the building footprint, we're holding to this. So.
Okay. Okay, good. Alrighty. Yeah, I think, and I think if V1 can work, that looks about the best. And then if V1 doesn't work, I think V2 will work. Okay. You have that line drawn in V2 from where right there, and that's not in the other one. So what does?
No, that is that's an error on our part. That was a quick output. That's a part of the model moved across with that move.
Alrighty.
That
So
needed to
because
be
that
cleaned
just
up.
makes the room look a lot smaller.
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a few thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
So I like V1, and I was wondering, the square footage currently allotted for the water service room,
Mhm.
how did you determine that placeholder?
So that was derived from the DD set. So that's the dimensions. This square footage has subsequently been vetted by our plumbing engineer.
Oh.
So if we do not need water treatment, this works. This layout works for them.
Because I was thinking, I mean, if the yield is adequate, well yield is adequate,
Mm.
I'm thinking you need your pressure tank,
Mhm.
and then I would assume that we're going to end up having to have PFAS filter
Mhm.
because neighboring wells currently have them, need them. I mean, the highway department, you know, across the street has one, and
Mhm.
houses to the east on
Mhm.
Pelham Hill Road have them. So we would need the PFAS filter as well as a pressure tank, which both of those together don't take up a whole lot of footprint. So I was thinking, I wonder if it could actually, if that's all we need, if we even need that much space.
Right. We do, and I think the mop sink is obviously taking up square footage too. So the pressure tanks we are already accounting for in this square footage, so we have that. I think and if you have a look at the DD set of the water service room, you see a layout of the equipment. The thing that needs to be considered is the maintenance clearances for these items. And so that is a bearing on the resulting square footage. The PFAS, I think we should account for next week's pricing set. Just get that square footage accounted for in this water service, considering neighboring properties need it. And for some reason, if we don't, we can just give that square footage back over to storage room.
I agree with that. Yeah.
We should then also include it in the cost estimate and just have it. And again, we know where we stand.
Yeah.
Andrea, I see your hand up.
Thank you. And I apologize. I was on 128, so I have a couple of comments that I didn't want to hop in on and have all of the highway noise in the back. So starting with this, I just want to make sure a 30-inch wide door would satisfy a wheelchair if needed.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
And then when we were talking about the tile, we prefer dark grout in the libraries if that's possible, because of, I believe it was Penny who mentioned that. I also just want to bring up though, if you have it in the entryway, that's going to be a very dirty area, right? Because you're going to get a lot of foot traffic there. So if that's a concern, that might also be something just to think about. And then also when you're thinking about the costs, I just want to put a reminder out there that this is a pilot project for us that is supposed to be the most economical as it possibly can be, because what we're trying to do is prove that this can be done for small communities like yours. So I understand that there are some aesthetic choices that we are not part of, but I just wanted to remind everyone about that when you're making these decisions, how replicable is this for other libraries that are similar. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Andrea. So I think there's small tweaks to this layout that I will go ahead and do and include in the 75%, and that way we have it. As far as decision making with regards to this, I'll focus on V1 and see how things lay out, but potentially V2 if needed. So I'll keep you in the loop as how things go. Marianne, this storage cabinet, I think I need to consider as well as how this ends up resolving, so we can coordinate on that.
Yeah.
So That was the interior. Paula, I don't know if she's on the call actually, but she had quickly outputted some views for us. So this is a view of the southeast corner of the building. And what I wanted to show here was the mechanical equipment. This is now the meeting room and the electrical room. This is the condensing units and all the mechanical equipment that we're housing to the south of this building. The refrigerant lines have been coordinated so that they enter the building down low here at the water table, and they're not going to fasten to the slate at all. So yes, this equipment is fairly visible, right? They're fairly large. This one here stands over 6 feet. It's like 6 foot and inches. The refrigerant lines would be behind them, and we have they would be sitting on a 5 foot wide concrete pad. This location right here where my cursor is about where the meeting room door was. So you can see here from the roof ridge, it's right around there. So it takes up that space. This wall is going to have other electrical panel boxes. We've got the solar equipment. There's also the roll-up generator access point here. So there's some equipment here that we haven't shown, but we need that clear space in front. But we do have about 4 feet of garden bed before we get to this pathway. So we were considering how we handle that visually. There's a potential to screen that. We were talking with Stimson as to whether we use a lattice and have, vines to create a natural screen element, which I think would be nice. And then you would have what we already own for shrubs in the foreground. It's a question to you as to whether we own that screen in the base bid, or whether this is something the library would like to take on after the fact. We would like to get our hands to it and spec it so it holds up well, has longevity, doesn't require a lot of maintenance, and is effective. But again, that might be something that the library is happy to take on. This is a southwest view, and again, so you saw the screen element there, and this is what you would see. So it's a question about how you are considering programming this space. It's not the most beautiful thing to look at. It's not the first thing you see as you enter the library either. You wouldn't see it, and exiting to the west and using this portion of the site, you wouldn't really see it. It's only when you come around to the south that you see these. I saw a few hands up. I see, Andrea, you're on top of my list.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just a few questions.
Yeah.
So one is for maintenance and upkeep purposes. Shutesbury gets a little bit more snow than a lot of us. For removing snow around these units, would the screening impede that at all? Would it allow people to be able to get in there and work on the equipment? And does it cause any impediments to service or maintenance, I guess, is the first question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm still waiting to hear back from our mechanical engineer on that. So I haven't got a good answer. My sense is that we would make sure that is feasible for all of that equipment. Yeah.
And the other question I have is, they are quieter units, but they're not completely quiet, and you have it next to the meeting room. So I just didn't know if there were any considerations there for how to mitigate noise transfer between
that's
that unit
a
and the
great
meeting
question.
room.
Yeah, we have our acoustical consultants have actually looked into this, so there's no issue there. We meet all the sound attenuation that's required for that. So we're yeah, that's a good
Thank you.
consideration. Yep. Dale?
So I guess I would be concerned about any panels, just simply because of the high winds that we've been having. So I'm thinking that maybe for the 75% cost run up that we maybe don't include any panels, because I think that they would require maybe just a little bit more than simple engineering.
Yeah, and that's where my sense was. It's a good point, Dale, that we would want to involve a footing, and make sure that our post is sound and that the lattice can hold up to storms. So we would tend to make sure this is adequately engineered to a degree, right? So I think it should be, considered like a fence post. Get a decent footing in there with a solid post and allow the lattice to be attached to that. So, yeah. Penny?
Remind me, I know you mentioned this, what is the distance between the units and the pathway
Yeah.
planted?
Yeah, so it's a 9-foot span between the edge of wall and the side of the sidewalk here. The concrete pad is 5 feet of that, and then I think it runs 20 feet along the building. So you would have a 4-foot bed.
So I would vote for just putting shrubs there, just putting plantings.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be simpler and less expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know what those things look like. And as Marianne said in some earlier meeting, it's just, it's just what we see now.
And we celebrate them.
Well, we tolerate them. We know they're good, even though they're not beautiful, but, it's just what it is. So I think an assortment of well-placed shrubs that are sized so that they won't grow too close to the equipment is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, Penny. That was my first thought. And I was talking to Stimson about what species we could use. That the question is, how much of this equipment do we want to screen? Because these 2 units here are over 6 foot. So is 4 foot ground space enough to contain a shrub, that can grow tall enough to effectively screen it over time? So
We're not going to.
And maybe it won't. And maybe it won't screen it completely. And I think that is okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm happy to go. That's kind of where we are right now, actually. And Stimson owns the plantings for that bed, which is a small shrub. And we just don't hold the screen. I know it had been a topic that we never got back to you on, and I just wanted to make sure that you all understand where we are. We've been working hard with our mechanical engineers to really lay this out and make sure the refrigerant lines are as discreet as possible. It will also involve a small furred out condition in the meeting room to allow for this refrigerant line. They actually need to enter the electrical room high per code. So because they're going to use the plenum space to connect with the equipment. So they're going to route up inside this exterior wall and then turn into this plenum space up high. They need to be 14 and a half feet above the finished floor in this electrical room. And then they serve their mechanical equipment throughout. So a little bit of gymnastics, but a much cheaper option than having this in a duct bank below grade. So excuse the jumping around. I'll go back to the presentation. So the site plan, I just wanted to update you. We, again, a lot of coordination going on. This is the updated site plan. Related to this, we have the NOI amendment being submitted to Conservation Commission. And we're pleased to say that the stormwater report did not need to be revised. So the revision to to slightly orientate this parking lot turnaround such that we meet the setback requirements to the neighboring property has not altered the way the stormwater is being handled on site. And so basically the system is operating as previously submitted to Conservation Commission. So that was great news. I just wanted to mention here that though we do need a raised element on the boundary of this, of the full length here of this entry drive. So we are holding on to Cape Cod berm. And this is required just to allow the stormwater that's collected on the site in these locations can be controlled and make their way back to the drainage system. So we're holding that as Cape Cod berm. I'm also coordinating with Stimson. I've asked them that we continue the Cape Cod berm condition. We need that raised element here as well. Initially, we had concrete curb, precast concrete curb, but I think as a cost savings measure, this should go to Cape Cod as well. And so that just the concrete footpath is what has concrete curb, which is appropriate. I got confirmation this morning that the charging stations can move. So there was a request to locate them further south to allow patrons to park closer to the library if they're doing a quick drop-off, so that these 3 spaces would not be taken by charging vehicles, by high efficiency or electric cars. So we've located them down here. We need to keep this stall open and free. This charging station is centered between the 2 stalls. If we were to move these all the way across, we would have a post right here, which I'm still coordinating is going to impede on the clearance requirements for the transformer pad. This transformer pad needs to shift slightly from what we're seeing here. We need to have direct access to the asphalt here. So there's a few clearance considerations. We're just tying up the loose ends here. But for now, we're going to hold these 2 spaces. Handicap does not need charging stations to meet the code requirement. Again, we are not going to own installing. It's just conduit to a concrete pad so that in a later time you can install it. So to meet code, we just need to provide the infrastructure for this. So that was the site plan. If we don't have any other questions, I have millwork updates. So Andrea, I just wanted to let you know, actually, before I get into the section, so we are now incorporating a book drop slot.
Thank
It's
you.
still on the south side here. It's now underneath the counter. And we were able to incorporate that so it still meets the requirements so that it can slip into a book drop cart. This is the first time we've detailed like this as a flat slot. So it just means that patrons need to push the book in before it drops in instead of just kind of letting it in a chute condition. So I think this works fine. So and I agree, I think this is a cleaner resolution now of the counter. So we were able to fit that in. We've been working with Marianne on the programming of this. And so we've made some slight updates here. A cash draw, and we're reusing some below counter box files. So there's some efficiency that we've been able to achieve So a slight reduction in scope here, which is good. I just wanted to bring up the, oh, Penny, I see your hands up.
Penny, are you muted?
Sorry, Dominic, can you, I don't really have a sense of what the circulation desk is going to look like. So what kind of wood are you talking about, and what kind of styling? And I don't think it needs to say Shutesbury Public Library if that saves some money.
Mm-hmm. We usually like to incorporate some signage. We typically do. So that's a question for the group, and we're happy to remove that if desired. So it's going to be a solid surface countertop, which is very hard wearing. Color choices for all of this is something we can go over during the shop review. So we kind of own the product, and then the final color selections we can coordinate with where we end up with floor finishes and paint colors. So it's a great hard wearing surface that we use, that we typically use for our circulation desks. We have white oak, solid hardwood shiplap boards. So there's going to be an expression of this vertical board. The shiplap will have a small reveal. The way that the two boards are going to connect, there's going to be a small resulting reveal, which will give you this vertical language that'll kind of wrap around. And then we have a hardwood base condition that's kind of standard. It's open to the back. So it's really, forward facing with the finishes, and then the back is open and more utilitarian.
Thank you.
Yeah. We represented in one of our previous renderings. I have some slides that I just hold on to kind of show. This is a high level concept of an older version of this. In this view, we're not expressing the shiplap that it would look like in true form, but the general sense here of a wood volume with a solid surface top counter. I can share some imagery of similar specifications that we've built. So I'd be happy to share those as well.
Oh, that would be nice at a later meeting. Thanks.
Yeah, at some examples. Yeah.
So Dominic, I think it's
Yeah.
fair to say that this is a pretty massive circulation desk, and it's not going to be moved. In other words, we really want to get the location really right, because there's no shifting this thing around once it's in, I would assume, correct?
Correct. It will not be fastened to the floor. But I'm trying to think. I have to go back to some of the shop drawings of past projects as to how it is modularized on the install. My sense is that the counter itself, there may be a seam somewhere. I have to go back, Dale. I forget whether I know we've built some larger desks that were modularized, and I'm trying to think of the parameters as to the shipping of this and the installation. Obviously, it's going to be very heavy in one piece. My sense is that all the base components will be modularized, and there'll be some kind of connections of however the mill worker decides to install this. I'm trying to think. At the top of my head, I'm not sure on how the counter will be considered. The intent, though, is that it's not fastened to the floor, and that to allow for future flexibility, that it can be moved. So my sense is, however it is constructed and put in place, is, if there's some sort of a joint in the counter, that's going to have to be, disconnected and reassembled if we need to move this. But the intent is that there's flexibility here, and in the future, you're able to move it shift it, replace it very easily. We didn't want to design it with any casters or any way of moving this around easily, but it's kind of a monolith. The intent is it's this monolithic item that can be moved if needed. But yes, it's going to be very heavy, and I'm not sure that on the manpower that it would take to shift this if it were a single piece. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Moving to the self-checkout printer and adults computer station. We've been coordinating with Marianne again about how this all works. So again, we have pop-up flip grommets so that you have power at the tabletop, so you don't need to fish any cords down to an outlet below. The self-checkout will have a through grommet, through counter grommet to an outlet below. So this is kind of a one install function where you're not going to need to plug in and unplug. This has been revised. We've also dropped the counter of the print station to allow for the printer to set down a little further, so it's not as obscuring the view across the top. So you can see some details here. I think I'll go straight to an elevation of the, sorry, as I'm zooming around here. I have an elevation here. This is the self-checkout zone. Sorry. The self-checkout here. There's this section. And this will be the printer station. So we figured, Marianne, of keeping the outlet up high above the counter, because below you're going to have cabinet doors. So previously we had this open with shelving just to stow away any printer material, printer paper, things like that. We figured we'd include 2 doors just to conceal that. The outlet could go in a few different locations. We thought we'd incorporate it here. So if I go back to the plan, the printer's going to sit here. And so we would have an integrated outlet here that's above the counter. We could potentially put that on this wall, which is the staff workroom. I just thought that once the printer's in place, you can do kind of localized wire management, plug it in and just have it carefully tucked away there. I figured you wouldn't want the outlet below the cabinet because that'll kind of complicate how you store underneath there. We would set a couple of drawers in there as well. This section still needs to be updated to show the doors, and this would be 2 adjustable shelving that you can have in there. Heather?
Yeah, could you scroll back down to elevation 3, I think it is. Just go down the screen a little bit.
This one here?
Nope, keep going.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The one that kind of shows. So this is sitting at the public computers, kind of looking towards
Correct.
circulation.
Yes.
Okay, and those dotted vertical lines there, those are braces for the countertop?
That's correct, the racks brackets. Yep.
Okay, but I see on that, I was trying to figure out, are those projecting out underneath the countertop at like leg height, but they're coming straight out just at counter height? Okay, great. Then my concern is unfounded. Thank you.
Nice, no problem. I think they're about 2.5 to 3 inch deep, something like that. The racks brackets, we've used them a lot. They're great. You can conceal them at the back, which is nice. So they're a great support system for these counters. So a quick update on this self-checkout. And lastly, the library of things. I don't believe that there was anything really new to present here, just that we had made a lot of revisions about considering the size of a life vest itself on a hanger. Spatially, how does that lay out? And allowing the flexibility for on-season, off-season. Off-season, the shelves come back into play, they're adjustable, and the rods can be taken out. And the rods are supported by these brackets that are on either sides of the shelving. Again, if I zoom in here in the elevation, I think it's maybe a little easier to orientate. So looking at the library of things here, the paddles would fit in this more slender portion of this unitized system. And then we have two cavities with, a fixed in place vertical element and a fixed in place horizontal element. And the rest is adjustable shelving. So you have adjustable shelving here for telescope cooktop. I think we have enough clearance here to set them down, put them in the shelves and take them out. Adjustable shelving here for the library stuff or for any of the items that you want to display here. Adjustable shelving in these two bays. And again, these shelves could be stowed away somewhere, or they could potentially just lie flat at the lower portion here. This shelf could sit down here. This shelf could sit down here, and then you can use these spaces, get the rods back in, and this would be your life vest storage. Some additional adjustable shelves in this niche here. Penny?
Will there be shelving in the paddles spot for the 6 months of the year? There are no paddles in there?
Yeah, that's missing from this elevation. The intent is that we would include that as well. So it would be full height adjustable shelving. That's right. The other thing that we didn't previously show was the holds. So if you're looking in plan at the browsing and library of things, as you turn around the corner and slip past the circulation desk, which is to the right, and then before you enter the staff workroom to the left here, you can see it here in this plan cut. We have a small recess for holds, and we elevated that. So that would be the same, Marianne, adjustable shelving you can see in this section. We can look at what height you would want for holds. Our thought was we wouldn't go any higher than 7 feet, even though, the library of things is using the full height. So, you will need a step stool to get these all the way up there. They're 9 foot. There was no other way really to meet the needs of, I know you needed over 4 feet, 2 lengths of over 4 feet for the life jackets. So this is our library of the holds. So let us know if you feel like, you could do with some more. We could potentially lift this datum so it matches, and even, that way you can store things you don't use as much, and the lower portion is holds potentially. So,
so do we want to put a tiny little cabinet up there?
similar
top,
to,
like on top of the browsing?
yeah, we could. Yeah, why not? That's kind of a open cavity right now, not being
Right.
used.
It's the same height, and then again, just something that is rarely used could be tucked up there.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So
Okay.
what we might do then is follow the section of the browsing and just
Mhm.
replicate that.
Yeah,
Metal shelving doesn't typically come at this custom width. So that's why I'm doing this as millwork. It would have been great if we could get this very condensed run
Yeah.
of metal shelving and handle it exactly like browsing.
yeah,
Um,
that's okay.
Yeah.
And then that, of course, that a sliding door probably wouldn't work there, but just a simple door.
yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's everything I have for today. So decision making. There was an outstanding question from the group. Any risk of frost heave at the concrete pavers? And I got confirmation there is not. So the landscape architects are going to make sure that the sub-base materials for the pavers are going to be able to drain properly, and there's no issue with that. I'm still tying up some loose ends on sandblasting the concrete pavers for donors to be able to engrave them. So Marianne, I'll continue coordinating with you on
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And again, schedule-wise, I'm not sure why my file is not showing that this was supposed to be the schedule. Schedule has not changed. We are submitting next Friday for the cost estimate. We'll have 2 weeks to get that information back. And then the 100% is April 19th.
But so the 100%,
Yeah,
do we send it out for a cost estimate again, or is that when it goes out to bid?
that's when it goes out to bid. Yeah.
Okay, alrighty.
Yep.
Okay. So it goes out to bid April 19th. Okay.
Yes, we issue it to Neil, and I'm not sure on the timeline of when he goes live. I'm going to need
Okay.
probably end of day Friday, so I don't know if he puts it out live on the
Okay.
Monday morning.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be a specific question for Neil.
Okay.
Andrea, I'm not sure if I'm trying to remember again the bidding time frame as soon as we issue the set. I'm sure there's a small buffer there. It's basically a 6 to 8 week of bidding process that happens thereafter.
And also when 100% is done, we just need to look at it first before it goes out to bid,
There you
approve,
go.
and then move on. That's part of
Okay. Okay.
our process.
Yep, that's right.
Thank you.
Could you review where you're putting gutters? I thought we were going to talk about.
Oh, yes. Apologies. I didn't have a roof plan yet. We were just locking in how this all lays out. So initially, our intent for this roof was to sheet water off, and we have a drip strip that follows most of the perimeter of the building and captures the water that is sheeting off the building. In DD, we decided that we want to have some protection at certain egress points to the building. So we have an upturned roof on this portion here, so we don't need gutters at that location. What we're doing with this upturned roof is we're cricketing so that water sheets left and right, and we will capture that with downspouts at the corner. The water that is caught on this side of the gable will sheet down. That which catches in the upturned roof will go to these 2 leaders, and everything to the left here and everything to the right will sheet off to a drip strip. The north side and the south side will not see water runoff. We've got a standing seam metal roof, so the intent is that these vertical seams capture the water and direct it either east or west of the gable pitch. So this egress door here does not need additional protection exiting. We have a notch condition here at adults with an egress door. What we are doing here is we have metal diverters at this location so that all the water that's caught in this zone that I'm highlighting here is going to sheet off, and anything in this zone hits the diverter and also gets diverted off left and right to the drip strip. This portion here is the bump out, the staff workroom. This footprint now is going to extend all the way to here. So now that we have that condition, we felt it necessary to get a gutter here because we have the wood, the Alaskan yellow cedar is finished around this volume. And so we felt that it was necessary to get a gutter here, capturing all the water from this location. Similarly, at these 2 locations, this is underneath an eave condition. In DD, we owned a gutter that ran that full length with 2 downspouts. capturing all the water from this side, just to give you added protection as you exit the building in both the meeting room and the lobby. So we already own that gutter. We're basically adding this gutter to the project now. We've consulted with Garland on this as well, and so they think this is the best strategy. Maintenance was our biggest concern, and visually as well, it's a much cleaner look without gutters, and we think that this drip strip, you know, is a great way to kind of capture that water, celebrate the water as well. The drip strip will not be required at this location that I'm highlighting here. But I'm still coordinating with landscape as to whether this is, you know, their visual intent. It's not required right now. So my sense is there's a garden bed here and that we can eliminate this scope. The drip strips are all captured by below grade drainage system and works with the site drainage system coordinated by civil. All right, I see Jeff. No, sorry, not Jeff. Whose hand was first? I see Penny up first here.
What, can you describe to me what a drip strip is?
Yeah. So at the surface, what you are able to see is it's a gravel that you basically see at the surface, but there's a few sub-assemblies beneath that, different coursings of gravel that then connect to a perf pipe. It's basically allows water that sheets off a roof. It gets captured in this gravel bed and then drains down to a perforated pipe.
And how do you decide how wide that is? And then I'm thinking from the perspective of gardens around the building. I've gardened in a building where water shoots off the roof and there's constantly a trench, and you learn you can't plant anything near there. So what is the impact on plantings around the building with what you're describing?
Yeah, it's a good question. Stimson is coordinating that right now. I don't have the exact dimension, but yes, the drip strip needs to be wide enough to capture the water that's sheeting off the roof, and it cannot be planted. So the plants need to be set off from that. I'm not sure on the exact specifics of that, but I can get that information to you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Were there any other questions?
Stephen?
Yes.
Oh, Stephen, sorry, yeah.
Has Garland commented on the interface between the TPO and the metal roof, you know, on the upturned roof?
They have, and they were happy with that, but we have just initiated a coordination effort with our envelope consultant, SGH. It's been a little bit slow trying to get them on board, but we have an agreement with them, and we're basically consulting with them specifically about that. So, Stephen, I'm hoping to have that. I've asked them that we turn this around for the 75%. Our office feels that it's...
Excuse me. The building I'm in has just been issued a request to evacuate. So I'm going to leave the meeting now.
No worries. Good luck, Stephen.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I hope everything's okay over there. So to Stephen's question, I don't have an update to present to you yet as to SGH's input on that detail. The upturned roof, you know, the ongoing conversation with the committee and our office, we felt warranted engaging SGH to really get a third party to critique that detail. And so once we have all of that, we want to present it to you. I've asked that we get that from them by next week. So I'm not sure when we can have the information. It's been slow going, as I was saying, to get them on board. We've been pressing them to, we're hoping to have it before that. Obviously, any outcome from that is going to roll into the 100%, but we felt that you guys deserve that information. So, so that'll be kind of the third, not just Garland, our initial consultant for this, but a third party again to critique that. So as soon as I hear more, I'll provide information about the TPO transition to the metal seam roof. Dale?
Just a quick question about the gutters themselves. I assume we're talking probably a 5 or 6 inch gutter, which commercial size. And
yep.
I'm thinking, that since it's going to be associated with a metal roof, I never used to believe in gutter guards, but I sort of do now. And I'm just wondering if, that's a possibility in an installation like this.
I think it is, and I've been looking into it. We have gutter details from Garland, specific about gutter guards, to help with maintenance. I think might be a good idea here. The one thing that I've been considering is that because we have photovoltaic, because we have PV on the roof, we're making sure that the surrounding trees are all low, right? So during fall, yes, leaves will blow around, right, and inevitably get into the gutters. But the initial motivation is that there is nothing tall right next to the building. So you would hope you would avoid some of that. But I don't know, Dale, I'd be happy to include that. And, we should, for those few portions of gutter, we just get the guards in, and that may save you quite a headache for maintenance.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that was everything from me today. Again, we're aiming for 75% for next week, for next Friday. Marion, I think we had a committee meeting allotted for next week.
So we do have a full building committee. There is something we need to vote on. We need to vote on funding some gravel that needs to be put down for the well driller to get out to the site. So we'll go ahead and meet on Monday anyway. If you don't need a decision about the other thing was we were going to have a discussion as a committee about the flooring in the entryway and circulation area, lobby, reception, browsing. But if it's easy enough to just price out, the rubber flooring and tile flooring, and then we can make a decision with those numbers. Even though I think we have that pricing already.
We do, yeah. But again, maybe to be a little more specific on the tile.
Okay.
And
but we can, we can talk about that without you, and we can make the decision about the gravel that's needed for the for the well installation without you. So I don't think there's anything that you need to be there for.
I think if I do have some new information, for instance, from SGH potentially, or I think the restroom configuration we have a good handle on, at least for 75%, and we do have a bit of time to tweak things again.
Right.
Once we get the actual well information to lock in all of that.
Right.
So I don't think there'll be anything specific from me at Monday.
Okay.
So if I
Andrea?
can be excused, that would be great. But if I do get some information, I'll definitely let you know and then happily jump on a call.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good. Andrea and Heather, do you need to see the 75% pricing set before it goes to the cost estimators?
Not before it goes to the cost estimators. It's
Okay.
before you start design
Okay.
for
so-
the next
Okay,
portion. Yep. So you can send it off to cost estimation and
Okay.
then you'll pick up any comments that we have. And then as you continue on.
all right. But you'll send it to us, Dominic.
That's
won't you?
right. Yep, I'll
Yeah,
send it to
okay.
everybody. Correct.
All righty. Okay. All right. Okay.
May I ask one more question, a general question that really doesn't relate to what we were talking about today, but I had a member of Shutesbury say to me, well, with all the over interest in the site by some members of town, are you putting a fence up during construction to keep people out of the construction area? And I had no idea. So just curious what typically is done once construction starts.
Typically we do. Roger, could you comment on that? Just kind of your process. That's one of the first things that goes in usually.
Yeah, that typically is done just for safety and
Mhm.
security, but
Good.
that first most priority for safety.
Yep. Well, happy to hear that.
I have to say, it doesn't always deter everybody. Our
Right,
building
right.
was already under construction and someone plugged in and was
Mhm.
working on a laptop in the lobby.
Oh, my.
So
If
Yeah.
you have anybody too who's paying a lot of attention, we had somebody in Hopkinton who was poking around the site once the digging started with like a tape measure. We still don't know what he was doing, but you know,
Measuring things, you know?
yeah, but for what argumentative purpose? Because it
Right.
was still unclear.
Yeah.
So it's a
Um,
deterrent, but
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't
typically keep the-
completely.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah,
Well,
it was
that's
just,
true, but you typically keep the site secured until the building's able to be locked up, just for securing the materials.
and,
They do
and
have a value when they walk away.
is it typically just around the building site? You're not gonna fence the detention basin or the stormwater basins and the septic? Because I don't know how it works.
Typically not, but it depends how much staging area they need.
Okay, well, yeah, again, it was just a curious question.
Also safety for any excavations.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, so unless you have new information, we won't expect to see you on Monday, Dominic.
Okay,
Um,
that
But
sounds
we'll
good.
meet, but the full committee will meet. And you know, and we can we can send them the slides from today's meeting.
I just
and-
was
yeah,
thinking, I normally
yeah.
present because I was thinking
Yeah,
this is the subcommittee meeting, not a committee.
right, yes.
I should just present. So let me just present. I realized, in the throes of the deadline, I was like, is there a need to present? But there is. Let me present my own slides. So apologies for that
You
request.
do want to come to the meeting on Monday?
I should
Okay.
present to my own slides. Yes.
All righty, okay, all righty, okay, well, we're happy to have you.
Yeah, that's great. I'll be happy to attend.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
All right, okay, good. All right, well, thank you, everyone. And we will, so then will we meet in 2 weeks? Or,
Yeah, well, it depends
I-
on
okay.
your sense of your review of the 75%, but you
Okay.
will have a week. I think we should set that meeting and then, there's not a lot of time to the 100%. So let's meet
Right.
in 2 weeks. and,
Okay, so 2 weeks from today at noon.
That's right.
And
Yep.
then, on Monday, we can discuss when the next full building committee meeting will be.
Yep.
All righty, okay.
I will be on an island that week, so I won't be available.
Oh, I
If you're
hope
talking
it's
about the
a
20th,
warm,
I know, sad.
sunny, tropical island. So I'll be I'll be going on vacation the following week. So, so I want to get in as much as I can before I go.
Yes.
Get as much done before I go. Okay. I'm only going for a week. Okay, so, all right, okay, well, thank you, everyone. Okay,
Thanks, everybody.
okay,
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Have a great day.
You
you
too.
too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.